So you're going to buy a home that runs on propane, eh? Are you sure it's propane? My name's Sean Larson, real estate broker, and you're probably sure it's propane, aren't you? The reason I bring that up is you'll hear people saying my home runs on gas. Well, you got propane and you've got natural gas. Those are not the same thing at all. So anytime you are exploring a home to purchase and somebody says it runs on gas, be sure you know which one they're talking about. Natural gas is the utility that usually comes from a supplier, the municipality, gas company, something like that. It's usually available at the street. It's run to the home underground and it supplies your natural gas appliances, your cooktop fireplaces and things like that. Now propane is usually in a tank on the premises, and a lot of times the reason that occurs is because it is outside of the boundaries of where natural gas lines are run. Now, natural gas lines may eventually make it to that property as development occurs and they make it out there, but a lot of times it's I won't say as far as remote, because I've seen it very close to a municipality. It just so happens that the gas line didn't run there, the utility didn't run there. But a lot of times it is remote. The conditions are super wide. You might have an area where all the tanks are smaller tanks. They're above ground. The line runs down underground to the home. In our area, most of the tanks that are propane are going to be larger, and a lot of the communities, because they are sometimes in communities, they're highly finished. They require that the tanks be buried for aesthetic reasons. You know, some people try to landscape them, but sometimes they're going to require that they're buried. Tank sizes are going to vary. It's not uncommon around here to have a larger tank that might be pushing 1,000 gallons. Now, they might only fill it to 800 because you have to leave some expansion room, but the scenarios that will occur around are going to vary. So if you're in a region where your information varies from this a little bit, that might just be the case for your region. Ours is a little bit different, but a lot of this is going to hold true. So this is some really good information. So you're thinking about buying a home with propane. You've established it is indeed propane. You can see whether the tank is above ground, below ground. You want to go in there and you might want to bring some appliances with you that run on, exactly, what do they run on? You might have a barbecue grill that runs on propane or natural gas, and you may have another appliance. You may have a cooktop that you actually want to bring and install. Maybe you're going to remodel the kitchen. Whatever it is, you need to make sure that that appliance or device is properly configured for the type of gas you are going to run in it, whether that be propane or natural gas. Because they are different gases, they burn differently, they use different pressures, and so there's some valves and orifices that have to be changed as part of a conversion process. The same goes for natural gas. Quite often, if you go to a local store and you want to buy a gas grill, well, traditionally that's going to be a propane grill just off the floor at the store. But a lot of times people might have natural gas at their home and they might have what we call a stub out where they can quick connect their grill and so they don't have to use the bottle. Okay, you can't just go to the store and buy a propane grill, come home and hook it up to your natural gas line and expect that to burn properly. So no matter what it is that's using one of the gas types, whether it be propane or natural gas, you just need to make sure that device is configured for what you intend to burn through it. Okay, got all that? So we've got the tank, we've got it above ground, below ground, we've got all of your devices configured. Let's talk about how that tank got to the home. Okay, it might be above ground, below ground. A lot of propane tanks will lease the tank. So the previous homeowner, maybe it was the first homeowner, maybe it wasn't. That's for you to determine in your particular case. But initially what happened when that tank came on site, either somebody bought it or it was leased. One of those is the case. Okay, if it is a leased tank, and the fee is usually very minimal, and the reason it's very minimal is because by leasing that tank to the homeowner, that company, that propane company, now has exclusive rights to fill that tank. So you can't go in usually. It's all going to depend on your contract, your lease agreement, whatever is connected to the home that you are purchasing. So always refer to that. So this is just broad stroke. So if you lease the tank or the previous homeowner leased it and that gave that propane company exclusive rights for the filling, therefore the profit of selling the propane, and you buy the home and intend to fill it using a different company, that might be a no-go. You might run into some sticky situations there where if you do have another company come out and fill it, you may have a dispute to settle between those companies and who you owe for gas, and do you owe both of them for gas, or propane rather, because you called company B, but you really owed that purchase to company A, who is the owner of the tank and is just leasing it. So you really want to be sure what the arrangement is with the tank on the premises, and do you as the buyer have any obligations to use that company. Okay, when you go to purchase the home, you're going to close on the home. There's fuel in that tank. There's propane in that tank, assuming they didn't let it run completely out, which is usually not the case. Who's going to pay for that? Okay, quite often there's going to be a document or part of the contract that says on the closing date, there's an estimated amount, or they may have somebody come out and read the tank to see what capacity is full, that the buyer pays X amount for the amount that's left in the tank. And they may, have a rate per gallon estimated or something like that. It could be they come out and fill it and you just pay for a full filling of the tank. However that is, you just want to be sure, because you don't want to get caught by surprise on closing day, and all of a sudden there's a charge on there and you think, what's that for? Well, it's for the propane that's sitting in the tank. Okay, now it could be, if you know all this ahead of time, and a lot of people don't until it's explained to them, you might be able to negotiate that into the deal. Say, when we close, everything that's in that tank is part of closing. We don't owe the seller anything else. Now, you have to be willing to accept that, if it's the peak of winter, there may be hardly anything in that tank, depending what their refill schedule is. But that's something to watch out for when you go into a home or considering a home that runs on propane. Who pays for the remaining propane in the tank at the time the home conveys, or at the time it is transferred to the buyer? Speaking of running out, how do you get it filled? When do you get it filled? As a buyer of a home with a propane tank on it, what you want to do is you want to connect with a reputable supplier who can help you keep track of that. You don't want to run out. And so a lot of companies, what they will do is they will kind of monitor your use. If it's a long-term company, they can monitor your use patterns through the season. Because if you think about it, everybody has a different use pattern. Somebody might be running their heat off of it, all the fireplaces, the cooktop. They may have propane dryer hookup conversion on there. They may have 24/7 gas or propane lanterns on the front of the home. They may be just burning through top. And then a homeowner B might run a cooktop or maybe a fireplace occasionally, and their propane uses are very low because their other appliances, they might be electric. Maybe they have a heat pump. They're not burning propane, for their heat, and their cooktop is electric, and so they might only have a slight use. So what the propane companies can do is kind of help monitor and establish a pattern for your particular use. And some of them will monitor that. They will come out several times a year, estimate what you've used, go ahead and fill the tank the rest of the way. So you don't always have to make manual calls saying, hey, we're low on propane or out, because you really don't want to get into that situation, because if you're that close to being out, you don't know what their lead time is to get to your place to fill it. So I will give you a heads up, though, that when you see a propane truck pull up, there's an expense coming. Because when you think about it, if you're just running electric heat, you're paying that power bill every month. So it's a little bit at a time. I hate to compare it to this, but it's a little bit like taxes. If your taxes are paid usually a little bit at a time. If you're a W-2 employee, they're taken out of each check. If you're self-employed, they're paid quarterly. From what I'm told, it's before my time, I think, but from what I'm told is it used to be the taxpayer's responsibility to pay it all in lump sums. And I believe the IRS found out that didn't work so well. So I think that's how it was established. They take a little bit at a time. Anyway, a little bit of a tangent there. It's a little bit like this, where a lump sum is going to be very noticeable as opposed to paying a little bit per month. So when you see that propane truck, roll up, be prepared. There's a bill coming for that, and it's not going to be as small as a monthly bill. I can attest to that. We've had a property that ran on propane, and when that truck pulled up, you knew it was coming. You really did want to see the truck roll up. And depending on your use, you can weigh the cost. If you're a light user, heavy user, the cost of propane versus the cost of natural gas or using electric, everybody's going to have a different outcome there. Propane and fuel and natural gas fees are going to fluctuate, as the economy does. So that's going to be something for you to work out and just look at, hey, do we want to pay for propane? Is natural gas our thing? Do we want to roll to electric appliances? So just take a look at that. But we were somewhat remote, and we ran a lot on propane. So seeing that truck pull up, we knew a bill was coming there. So if you're considering or exploring a home with propane, just a heads up on all those things. Confirm it is propane, not natural gas. Make sure any appliances that you're going to convert or transfer over, they have the proper, they're called orifices, and they may have some valves in there to change out. You do want those to be configured properly. Otherwise, you're going to get improper combustion. You may have a tremendous soot buildup, and that's not going to be pretty because that can damage some devices. You may have to go through an extensive cleaning to get them operational again. So don't try to wing it on those. Get the proper conversions for anything that you are going to bring to that home, and they might have been set up for natural gas. You do need those set up for propane if you do intend on connecting to that system. And so just check all that out. Read the fine print on any lease on propane tanks. Make sure you are set there. You can use the company who you want to for refills. Connect with them. Ask them, hey, what's your protocol? Will you monitor our patterns and make sure we don't run out? So that is the spiel on propane today. Just a heads up on that. If I can answer any questions about that or anything else, my name again is Sean Larson. I'm a real estate broker. I'd be more than happy to help you out. Thanks so much.